everyone. My name is Spencer Trotter from the World Englishes class. Today we're going to talk about English in India and Sri Lanka, or as the book, as Kirkpatrick calls it, the subcontinent. So for those of you who don't know, I think everybody knows where India is right here. But Sri Lanka is this little island nation. It's not that small, but underneath India. So that's kind of where we're talking about. And English started in that area just like it started anywhere, with trade and colonization from Great Britain. And when it first got there, English was taught mostly by missionaries. It wasn't very widespread. And then in 1835, the Macaulay Minute was passed, which pretty much what they wanted to do was come in and teach not only English to people, but they wanted to make a class of Indians who were pretty much, they were Indian, but they were pretty much English in culture, in intelligence, they thought, and everything English, to kind of be their voices so that they could rule over the millions of people at the time that were living in India. And at first this wasn't particularly popular everywhere. There were some people who were called Orientalists that wanted to promote local languages, and others who were called Anglicists who wanted English. Still over the years, English has grown in popularity. It's not the official language of India, but it is it's called an associate official language of India, and it's spoken in many domains by all sorts of social classes, and it's a common lingua franca, which is needed because there are 1,652 mother tongues in India. So English is thriving, doing well in India. In Sri Lanka, it's a different story. It started similarly with colonization. And then once they got their independence, they decided they wanted to go a different route and use one of their local languages. However, English is still spoken in universities and as a lingua franca for Sri Lanka, so it hasn't gone away. They just don't embrace it as much as Indians. So that's the end of this historical part, and stay tuned for the next parts of our Indian Englishes. Part 2 of this Indian English video. I'm going to go over the linguistic parts of Indian English and Sri Lanka. They're pretty similar. For phonology, first of all, Indian English is rhotic, which means the R sounds are produced. And also another feature is with many diphthongs, they're shortened into monophthongs. Like for example, the word coat in English is just coat, and day is just day. So both the V and the W can be pronounced kind of as an in-between. It's kind of a V. And the TH sounds can be kind of a sound that they do. It's also a 6-vowel system. And then let's move on to syntax. So syntax, they use the progressive present tense, where most people would say the simple present tense, most English speakers. Like for example, they'll say things like, I am knowing, which, at least in my English, that's not correct. They also add the ESS suffix to things that other English speakers normally don't, like making teacheress and butleress. They have new compound verbs, and sometimes they will change prepositional phrases into noun phrases. Like for example, instead of saying a bunch of keys, they'll say a key bunch. For lexicon, they have different names for some of the numbers. Also, some of the words they use are more Romance-based than Anglo-based, such as request instead of ask, and require instead of need. And cultural conventions, if they request something in Indian English, it'll be more direct, and a lot of other cultures see that as rude. So that's just some of the linguistic parts of Indian English, and stay tuned for part three of Indian Englishes. In the other two parts and in this one, we were talking mostly in general about English in India and Sri Lanka. However, there are many sub-varieties of English in these areas, mostly based off of the L1 in each geographical area. For example, there's a Punjabi English, a Babu English, a Parsi English, and a Hindi English. There are also other types of Englishes. For example, the Merota is a Pidgin English, and there's also a Butler English, which is was used by Indian servants who served their English masters. They kind of picked up this dialect. Only about half of the population speak English, but with a population of 1 billion people, that's quite a bit of people speaking English. There is a body of literature in Indian English. Indian authors largely consider that Indian English has been molded enough to express their culture. There are some exceptions, but mostly from Sri Lankan authors. Well-known Indian authors include Raja Rao, Ruchira Mukherjee, and Anita Desai. English is widely taught in schools, and in many places it is the language of instruction. The government has adopted a three-language formula, which is that students throughout their academic career, they learn three languages: Hindi, English, and another language, usually a local variety. Not all places keep that though, but still English in India is becoming more and more popular, and this is also becomes popular because many universities use it and from pop culture. So thanks for watching our Indian English presentation.